Hey everyone, it's Rochelle with Losing It on Keto. And in this recipe video, what I'm going to attempt to do is make rice pudding, and I'm going to attempt to do it in a PSMF way. And I've been researching this for a while per, my typical approaches to these things, because there's no trails that have been blazed before this. I often have to be creative. I think that's going to be the case here. So I'm going to figure things out as I go. But the very first step that I need to do is I need to make the rice. And I had this recipe in mind from two things I've done in the last couple months. One was making that rice based on Maria Emmerich's approach, the one that I made, the mock chicken flavored rice-a-roni. And then all the experimenting I've been doing with protein, jello, etc. So I'm going to combine a number of those things and try and come up with, like I said, a PSMF friendly rice pudding. Now, I've made rice pudding before for PSMF, and it was okay. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be, but still missed the mark by a lot. So I've learned a lot since then, so I'm optimistic. So here's the first step. We're going to need to make rice. Now this time I'm going to adopt Chris Cooking Nashville's approach to making rice. But I'm going to alter some things, which is he steamed the rice over the stovetop. Well, I have a steamer. That seems like a logical use of the steamer for me. I don't know. Maybe he did that because he didn't have a steamer. I'm not sure. So I have that set up. I've got the water in the bottom. My steamer comes with a rice cooker, so I could have used this. But one thing that Chris did is he took lard and he coated his glass bowl so that the egg whites wouldn't stick. Well, for PSMF, I don't want that. So I checked and I said, do I have a small enough silicone mold that would fit in my steamer? And while this doesn't fit exactly, I think it fits well enough. It's just a bread mold. And I have a couple other smaller bread molds that I could put multiple in here. But I don't think I need to do that. I think this is going to work pretty well. So I've got that. Now, the other question that I had was, do I need to spray some non-cooking spray on this? And I know I did experience a situation where one of my recipes for the egg bites did stick to the silicone mold. So I don't know. I guess to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and spray this. I'm going to use a non-stick coconut oil spray, real light. Okay. So just that. I didn't get this side here. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my egg whites. Chris made 4 cups. I won't need that much for my rice pudding, but I have other uses for this, so I'm going to go ahead and make the 4 cups. So I know that 1 carton is 2 cups, so I'm going to do 2 cartons. Okay? And I already shook this real well. And I'm actually just going to eyeball this. You know what? I'm just going to do 1 carton. because that's already coming up halfway. I don't want to fill this all the way to the top. So calling an audible, I'm going to just do 2 cups with the intention of using 1 cup for the rice pudding. Okay, so I'm going to put the lid on. And I'm going to make this for 30 minutes based on what Chris did. Okay, so we'll come back in the next segment and we'll take a look at the condition of the quote-unquote rice. See you back then. Okay, I'm back in this segment. The egg whites have steamed and I've cooled them down, and comes out relatively easy out of the silicone mold. So I would definitely say to spray it. You can see there's some liquid here, so I want to get some paper towels. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Good enough. So one of the other reasons why we are doing what we're doing, outside of firming it up, is we want to get that sulfur smell, taste, etc. from extracted from these egg whites. All right, so next thing I need here before I put them in the oven is, Chris says 2 tablespoons of gelatin. But his was for 4 cups. We did 2, so I'm going to do 1 tablespoon. So I've got 1 tablespoon of beef gelatin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread this in this mix. And I don't want it to clump, so I'm kind of like it's snowing. High enough above. Okay, that's about half. Now I'm going to run my fingers through it. Okay, and I'm going to do that again and keep doing that, getting the moisture off my hands until this is spread all the way through. Okay, last third of it. Okay, same thing. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now I'm just going to pull this cutting board away and put it on the parchment paper and spread it out. And now I'm going to dry it in the oven. I'm going to get these little pieces that ran away. So get this spread out, because the further distributed this is, the easier, the shorter amount of time it's going to take to dry it out. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the oven now for 10 minutes. I'm going to do it in 10-minute increments because I'm going to stir it each time. And I can tell you, I could feel the effects of the gelatin on my hands as I'm cleaning them here. I'm going to do them in 10-minute increments, stir it each time until I got these as dried out as I think I can. Okay, so I'll come back in the next segment after these have been dried out in, like I said, 10-minute increments. Okay. Okay, guys, I am in this step now. I dried the egg whites out. So I did 2 10-minute intervals at 325, stirring between each one. And then I had to run an errand. So what I did is I lowered the temperature of the oven to 250. Well, I went out, because the whole point is you don't want these to brown. You want them to dry them out without browning. So I had to run to the store. So I lowered the oven temperature to 250. And I was gone 15 minutes, and that did the trick. So probably if you did 325 for 10 minutes, so I'd say, would have achieved the same thing. So I'd say probably three times of 10 minutes stirring between each one is what you would need. And I think that's what it took Chris, even though he made double this. All right, so now in terms of preparing the rice, I'm at the last step. So Chris recommends using this concoction to get it most like rice, to taste most like rice. So he does, I'm doing 2 cups, so I cut it in half. So I've got a tablespoon of egg white protein powder. I've got a 1/4 cup of gelatin, beef gelatin, and then I have a teaspoon of water. So I've let that bloom. And now what we're supposed to do is you're supposed to mix that in here. And then you can put it in the refrigerator or whatever when you're ready to use this. But he says don't skip this step to get it most like the rice flavor. So he knows some chemistry I don't know, so I'm going to listen to what he says. So I'm going to spoon this out, put this in, and then I'm going to mix it in. And I'm thinking my hands are going to be the best way to do this, to coat this evenly. And I will tell you, you could feel the effects of the gelatin. This is much firmer than when it started, which is, more than just drying out the egg whites. You can feel the effect. In fact, the gelatin has a little bit of like a sticky quality to it, because even when it was on the parchment paper and I was taking it out between each 10-minute increments, and it was sticking even to the parchment paper, and you can see my hands, it's almost like I have super glue on them. So these egg whites are coated pretty well. So I'm just going to let them be now. And I could refrigerate these, I could freeze it. But knowing my intention here is to make rice pudding, I'm just going to let them sit out until I'm ready for the next step. But my hands are sticky, so I need to attend to those. Now at this stage, unlike when Chris did this, and I don't know, maybe because this is sticky, this is why he didn't do it. I don't know if this is going to become less sticky as this sits out. I think it will. And I'm wondering if I should refrigerate this to let the gelatin harden. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to set this in the refrigerator just like you do with a Jell-O or a pudding. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And once I feel it's firm enough and whatever, I mean, this size is fine, but I wanted to rice this further. And so what I had intended, I had mentioned before, I thought I had a different idea than using a food processor. And I have this chopper that I got at Costco recently. And I actually thought the, let me see, where is it? I thought this blade here would serve quite well to rice this versus this one that's bigger. So that was what I was thinking. So I'm going to give that a try. And you could see it here, the difference in the booklet here. So I'm going to give that a try once this, once the gelatin sets. I could do the, I think I could do the potato ricer at this point. I couldn't do that in my last video where I was making this because I realize now why there was so much pressure is because there was so much liquid in that. So now this is dried out, I believe I could successfully do that. So we'll see. But the first thing is got to happen is the mixture we just spread on this, the gelatin mixture needs to dry, needs to set. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and I will come back in the next segment. Hey guys, I'm in this segment. The quote-unquote rice has set and I'm using my veggie chopper that I showed you to rice this versus say, I mean, I guess a potato ricer could be used because it's the same concept. It's just I've got more leverage here. Or I suppose a food processor. What I'm going to attempt to do though is you can see it's stuck in here and here. I'm going to see if I can get this out easily. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend doing this. But so far, in terms of ricing it, it's worked out pretty well. It's just a matter of, is there too much stuck in there? So that's what I want to test. But I've just been doing this in shifts, and I think for 2 cups, I don't know, I think it's been about 5 shifts. So not bad at all. Okay, so that's the rest of it. And now, like I said, it's a question of whether we can get this out. So it was very simple to put together. You do that to lock. So now I've unlocked it so I can take this out. And you see I've got that on there. The blade is very sharp, so they say to be careful. If I tap this, let me see how much comes out if I tap it. Still seems like, and then I need to figure out something for this. And then something for this, but if I take this off, I'm pretty happy with how that rice did. It definitely did it uniformly. I really like that. Now it's just a matter, like I said, can I reasonably get this out? It's like it's a little like clothing. So I'm going to try it on here first. I think it's actually made for that. Maybe the other one is made for this. All right, let me try that. And I wonder, there's this thing, there's a lock. Oh yeah, so I can remove that by pressing this lock. Okay, so now I've got that. Let me see how well this does it. Oh yeah, so I can just go through the grooves here. All right, so I think this is in pretty good shape here. And by the way, this slides out. So that you have your little container here that you could, so I guess I didn't really need this bowl. Okay. So we got the 2 cups of rice, okay? And I will clean that later. All right, so now it's time for the pudding. And I've been doing a lot of research on this because I could go a number of ways with this, and I'll explain. But the way I'm going to do it right now is the one I settled on. So I'm going to, first of all, if you research rice pudding, you'll see there's a, whether you do a custard or not. I want a custard type. So custard means egg, or egg yolk. And typically custard, you bake it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a stovetop method. But I also was debating whether to just use the Vitamix. So I have a note, next time I make this, I may try just doing this in the Vitamix and see what happens. But for right now, because it's my first time, doing this. I'm going to make this similar to the way I've made my pudding and my Jell-O and apply those lessons learned to this. So I'm going to make this the same way. Okay, so what I need, I need to plug this in, is what I need. So I made up a recipe based on all my learnings and all my new research about rice pudding. All right, so that's the same way I do my stovetop pudding / Jell-O. All right, so what I've got is I've got 3 cups of keto milk. So remember, oh darn it. This is 1 part whole milk to 3 parts water. One of the things I've been debating is whether I should add any protein powder to this like I do in my pudding / Jell-O, and I've decided I'm not going to do that. That's a tweak I could do if this doesn't work out, so I could add it if I find I need it. But I'm going to use egg yolk powder for my thickening agent. And I'm going to have the protein come from the egg white. Okay, I need a whisk. Sorry, I'm going to bump the camera because I forgot I had to get in this drawer. Okay, so I am going to add 4 egg yolks worth of egg yolk powder. So that is 32 grams. And I'm just putting that right in. Mix that in, because I'm going to rely on that as my, as one of my thickeners. Because the other notion that I have, and that's how I want to make it a custard type as well, okay? Versus a pudding type. Now, the other thought that I had is I'm going to add the glucomannan powder and the tarragon, because I had good success with that when I made pudding. So this doesn't have any Jell-O in it, any gelatin in it, so keep that in mind. So I'm getting some glucomannan powder. And like I said, I'm going to add based on what I learned from the pudding. So I'm going to do half a teaspoon of glucomannan powder to a 1/4 teaspoon tarragon. So there's the glucomannan. So I'm going to use this, and I think I've mentioned this in one of my videos, but I learned the ratios. Well, one, I learned that both glucomannan powder and xanthan gum are used to replace cornstarch, and I learned the ratios. So I have that. Okay, so I have my thickening agents, which is my egg yolk, 4 egg yolk powder, 32 grams, and the ratios are based on 3 cups of liquid, okay? So I've got that added, and I'm going to do this the same way that I have done my pudding / Jell-O, which is I'm going to heat this and I'm going to expect this to thicken until it starts to bubble. I don't want it to boil, but until it starts to bubble, which based on my past experience is somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes on medium high, which is 375. That's one of the reasons I love this induction that I can, and the skillet, because I can set a specific temperature. Then I was thinking about a granular sweetener, because I was thinking, do I need that as a thickening agent? And I think the egg yolk powder and the glucomannan powder and the tira gum, I think, are going to be enough for thickening. And like I said, if it doesn't thicken up, then I'll add some protein powder, some vanilla protein powder to this. But I don't think I need the sweetener for a thickening effect. So therefore, I was thinking I was going to use my vanilla RX sugar, the allulose liquid sweetener, and then I have the better stevia. This isn't the one I wanted. This is French vanilla. I wanted cinnamon vanilla. Let me see. Where is the cinnamon vanilla? Here it is. So I was gonna, those were the two I was gonna use as my sweetener. And I'm gonna sweeten to taste, much like I did with the pudding / jello that I've made. And then I have my vanilla extract, my cinnamon, some nutmeg, and some salt. And then of course I've got the rice. And one thought I had about the rice is because this has gelatin in it, and if you recall when I've made the pudding and jello, the cooktop version of the pudding and jello, I'd have the gelatin mixture with the milk, part of the milk, blooming separately from the stovetop, and then when the stovetop mixture was done, I'd pour that in and it would mix in well. Well, I don't want the gelatin to come off the rice. So I'm thinking I don't want to cook this. I want to fold this in, and I was wondering, should I fold that in without cooking it? So wait until this mixture cools. So I'm not sure about that. So that's one question that I do have. So anyways, I'll come back in the next segment once this comes to a, once it starts to bubble. Okay, it started to bubble pretty quickly. It's thickened a bit, so I'm going to take it off here, and I've got my glass bowl here. And just pour the mixture in. And I'm going to trust that the glucomannan powder, the egg yolk powder, and the tira gum are going to thicken this in the refrigerator as it sets. Because right now, it's a little more liquidy than I would like it to be. But what I learned about that pudding, I think the glucomannan powder is going to continue to work as it's refrigerated. And if I find that it isn't, well, then I will, like I said, I'll thicken it with probably with protein powder, but I'll figure that out. But I don't think I'm going to need to, but we'll see. But I did want to show you that right now. It looks like just when I make the pudding, the only difference is it doesn't have gelatin in it. Okay, so now I haven't put any of this in, and now I need to. All right, so I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So there's 1. And here's 2. I have vanilla bean powder or paste. I chose not to put that in. Okay, so I'm going to stir this in. Okay, now I'm going to do I'm going to do a teaspoon of salt. Yeah, I'm just going to go a little lighter than a teaspoon of salt. I guess that was about 3/4. I hope that wasn't too much salt. Okay, and then I'm going to do, let me think about this. I think, yeah, I'm going to do a teaspoon of cinnamon. Oh shoot, that was nutmeg. Oh no. Oh, nutmeg is very strong. That should have been half of that. Oh well, let's see. Here's a teaspoon of cinnamon. All right, and now I want to sweeten to taste. Get these out of the, let's get this all blended. I'm going to give a squirt like I usually do. Is this open? No. A squirt. A healthy squirt of the sweetener. And I'm going to do the same here. Oh, what we've got here. See if we need any more sweetener. We do. It's not sweet enough. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So now the question becomes, is this going to thicken up in the refrigerator? And it will thicken up as I add that. I wonder if I should add that now. I think I'm going to. And the reason why is because that does have gelatin in it. But the other thing is, will that gelatin cause this to become a pudding versus a custard? I don't know, guys. Getting experimenting. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 2 cups of quote-unquote rice. Now I'm going to mix that all in. And then I'm going to set this in the refrigerator. And we'll come back in the next segment and see what we've got. So it'll probably be tomorrow. But I want to taste this before. Wow, you guys. Wow. Wow, do I like that mouthfeel of the rice. Wow, you guys, that is just like rice pudding. All right, well, let's see if this sets up. And if it doesn't, then we'll figure out how we doctor it. Okay, so come back in the next segment and I'll show you what we've got. Hey guys, so I'm back in this segment and I am super happy with the consistency. This came together so nicely overnight. I was a little worried last night because it was still liquidy, but overnight, this is the exact consistency, and I am so impressed by the quote-unquote rice, which is the egg white, how it's, I mean, you can see that. It's the gelatin with the egg white, really, man, the mouthfeel is like rice. So I am really happy. This is the best result I've ever produced with a keto rice pudding, let alone a PSMF, right? Well, I guess I've never really tried a keto rice pudding with a PSMF rice pudding. But I wouldn't say, you know, it's an exact, well, not exact, but let me say it this way. There's still something that's missing to make it like the rice pudding my mom would make. And is it because we're limited in ingredients with PSMF? I don't think so. So I'm going to give this another go, and I wonder if it's using the egg yolk versus egg yolk powder. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna work at this a little bit, but I was so impressed by the texture that I wanted to film that absolutely have nailed the creaminess. I didn't know if that would be achieved because I know it's the starch from the rice that creates this, but darn you guys, I got the creaminess nailed. There's just something about the taste. I want it more of a custard. And more of a little bit of a richness. So I don't know if it's a tablespoon of butter and an egg yolk. The macros work that would tolerate those additions. So I'm going to give it a little bit more doctoring, so to speak. But this is darn close. And I'd be happy with this if this is how I left it. But, you know, I'm going to pursue improving it. So that's all I've got for you guys. This is very good as it is. But like I said, I'm going to work to improve it. Okay? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. All right, had to come back. Here's the final segment. Guys, here's the rest of the rice pudding. Oh my God, it was so good. And I put my finger on what I was trying to convey in that prior segment, which was I was going for, and I think I had stated this in the earlier, I think the first segment of the video, which is with rice pudding, you can go a custard style, which is typically baked, or you could go with a non-custard style, more along the lines of like the Cozy Shack that you'd buy in the store. And I was shooting for the custard style, but actually what I wound up was more of the Cozy Shack, and I'm okay with that. And so that's what I was grappling with in that prior segment when I said it was missing something, because it wasn't custardy. And like I said, and that's okay, because oh my God, the flavor was excellent. I'm so pleased with how the egg white became like the rice. So it was delicious, as you could tell from my empty bowl here. So of course I had to adjust my macros for the day to account for the fact that I just had that. But how I justified it was basically I just had 2 cups of egg whites. And so now I've just updated my meal plan today accordingly, because that certainly wasn't part of my, to consume that amount as part of my meal plan. But I adjusted and it's totally fine, because it basically just gave me my daily fat allotment of nearly 30 grams and then 79 grams of protein. So I've adjusted, but I did want to close out the video sharing what I was grappling with. And it was, like I said, custard versus non-custard. So that is awesome. I still think I will play with it to see if I can get a custard rice pudding. But I didn't want to leave the notion that there was something wrong with that. I just had to alter what I was shooting for, because like I said, it didn't come out like a custard, but it was outstanding, and I will make that again. And yes, it is a little bit of work to make the quote-unquote rice, but I will make that in batches, and it is absolutely worth it. I've made this with hearts of palm. I've made it with cauliflower. This is superior, and it's worth the little bit of work. And I have to say, I love the notion that I got my protein from egg white versus, say, a powder or what have you. So I am super, super happy that I've come up with a PSMF friendly way to make rice pudding. And I will absolutely be factoring that in. To have a whole food as a dessert like that, that's a huge win. So anyways, closing out the video, I actually am planning to film another video where it's a vanilla custard, and I wonder if I learn anything from that to apply to a custard style type rice pudding. But for now, this rice pudding that I had, like I said, is more like the Cozy Shack, but it is excellent. And so if you're so inclined, if you're a fan of rice pudding like I am, make this. You won't be disappointed. Okay, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.